Tiny bohemian boy? I think you might be the accomplice. Or you. Or you. How funny would it be if he did have an identical twin and the only way for me to name the accomplice is to present himself? Ignoring things that the bad guys admit to doing. Yeah, that was a bit strange for him to... I mean... Because he did, like, fairly explicitly... No, did he say... He just said, like, you didn't find the other time bomb. Like, he had just set a time bomb. He had admitted that he was... First of all, that he was going to blow up that room and that building and everything or whatever. He's like, I admit that I planted a bomb in order to destroy evidence, and you didn't find the other time bomb. And just as he said that, on the other side of London, the evidence exploded. Yeah, I guess this stands out as an extreme example of that. It has happened in the other games. Sure, I'll name the accomplice. Whatever. The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Somehow, the two bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. Yet, according to the coroner's report, it's not a possibility. But that inconsistency itself is a clue. Counsel? My lord? You have received a stark warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's apprentice? I kind of want to say him, because... like, maybe he was... No. Like, I'm really hesitant now to say that he's still alive. I think maybe he really is dead, and that the autopsy is not, like, fake. She's the leader of the forensic investigation team, so I guess if I'm implicating her, then I'm jumping ahead to the forensic investigation team did ignore the fact that it's a wax dummy up in the Crystal Tower, right? It's clearly Van Zieks. I'm gonna try saying her. Oh, because that's why her name is on the... Where... Oh, I can't switch back to the court record. Her name is on the, no. Wait. I think it was. I think she... Oh, it says right there, Scotland Yard coroner. Yes. She was the person who did the autopsy. She's in on it.
Take that!
The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, my Nipponese friend? Surely, fear doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that. Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. More waves than you can count. Wait a minute. Count! That's it! I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure it will be all right, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Sato. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy. All right, then. Here goes. You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, counsel, now. The person who colluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Sith. What in blazes are you talking about, Dr. Sith? The head of the forensic investigation team, and the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim. We know that there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It could only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Sith be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. See, this also seems kind of like a leap forward, like the olive green thing. But it also, like, I've had reason to suspect that the whole forensic investigation was a sham. So this works a little bit. I wonder if there was, like, a deliberate intent to include things where you might, like... There's so many softball questions, right, in all of the Phoenix Wright games. I feel like almost every question is this softball question. For them to put in one that's like, yeah, you're only going to get this if you've really been, like, deducing yourself, is kind of unprecedented for these games. I think that's maybe why the olive green thing caught me by surprise. You've got a nerve, lad, standing up there dragging the yard's name through the mud. I didn't mean to. I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there. How dare you call her a criminal? My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once. A grave problem? Oh my word! Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? What? Certainly, if the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must also have contained a body. And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Asman. Ugh, that's true. If my argument is that there were two bird cages, then there must also have been one person inside each. But I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal how this body double stunt was achieved? Oh my god, are you new, Kawahanka? We at one point had somebody on the one of the jurors turned out to be the real murderer. Or no, it wasn't murder, it was an accident. But she still did it. There's only 8 people living in London for them to choose from. So when they choose from those 8, 6 of them, there's gonna inevitably be some people who have ties to the case. I don't have I guess this? It'd be nicer if I had, like, something that said, like, Madame Tussauds whatever on it. You know, like if they gave me a flyer. If I had her business card. I guess that'll be good enough. Oh, I could also name Madame Tussauds? I mean, Tuspel? Madame Tuspels? Yeah, okay, maybe they're giving me the option here. Maybe either one of those would have worked. Very well, the defense will address my learned friend's concerns by revealing the identity of the person who acted as Mr. Oh, whoops. I was wrong. Be my guest. Give us a name. The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage, which means that any witnesses would only have seen them from 60 feet away. So who was it that appeared out of that explosion some 18 meters above the spectators? Aha! In place of Mr. Asman in the second birdcage was her, except not really. It was a thing that she made, though. That counts.
Take that!
Does it count? It doesn't count. This person is the most likely candidate I can think of, wouldn't you agree?
I would not. Would anyone?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Even you're turning your back on me, Miss Susato? I must be really wide of the mark.
You have a head. Try using it.
And you have a cup of wine. Try drinking it. Got him. I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? Oh, are they telling me that I should do nothing at the moment? Let's try that. I can't explain that at the moment.
Oh, really? And when can the court expect an explanation?
Maybe tomorrow? Ah!
Then you can take your leave of us until then.
People who procrastinate lose everything in the end, Mr. Naruhodo. Isn't that slightly over the top? We can discuss that later, but for now you ought to consider what you can do, not what you can't. Alright, yes. I'll think again. Evidentiary.
Good gracious, evidence. I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. The court is expecting a name. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now.
The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the... Yes, I know. I already saw this. Any witnesses? This is repeat. Come on. Aha.
Take that!
We know that the victim, Mr. Asman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage, and therefore he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else, what's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the Crystal Tower.
Yes, counsel, according to your somewhat elaborate version of events.
Oh! Was it? That's kind of funny. I wouldn't know if they usually do that, because I don't get Phoenix Wright questions wrong very often, he claimed. And that body double inside the second birdcage was, in fact... It's alright, Mr. Naruhodo, you're ready for this. Just steel yourself and come out with it. Thank you, Mr. Sato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was... as unbelievable as it may seem, that thing there. Why did we bring this? What? Whose idea was this? How long has that been there? And why didn't anybody ask me why I brought it?
Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend.
Bing.
Now, tell me, what are you playing at?
Stand firm now, Ryunosuke. This is no time... Or, this is the time. This is the time to show your Japanese spirit. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. A model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago, the Professor.
You started by indicting the leader of the forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved on to indicting Waxworks.
Yes, that's about the size of it.
But why? And why this waxwork? It looks nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less.
Why, because he's got clothes on?
What possible justification can you give?
If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber.
What?
Just days before Professor Hairbrain performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Two-Spells.
Did you say abducted?
And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum.
Then the timing. Is this true, Mr. Drebber?
At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again. But now the reason is clear. He took it so he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Asman.
Objection!
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. That he did so in collusion with the country's finest coroner on a public stage in front of a vast audience. And that to effect the deception, see, he did it again.
He loves it. He loves that word as much as I do.
And that to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection!
Wait. Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible. What are you, a lawyer or something? Taking something and saying it a certain way so that it's more convincing?
My lord, I need to speak, if you please. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement.
A telepathic agreement.
Very good. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your leanings for the court to hear.
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
Guilty!
Guilty!
The corn fireball is what really tipped the scales.
So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached a consensus.
I knew that was gonna happen. Me too. Me too, Naruhodo. Me too. We shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds.
The defense will now
I didn't even have to ask to. He's like, I know. The judge is like, I know by now.
The defense will now embark on a summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you has decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime of which he is charged.
Buddy, have you ever heard of a line? You're number 6. You don't get to talk yet.
These people. These English. I've known that woman for years. She'd never be an accomplice to anything. It's utter nonsense to think those two would ever be conniving with one another.
Oh dear. This is most troubling, but surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, isn't it? I've had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. That's a reason to find him guilty.
I've seen no rigorous proof that this waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture.
Accusing someone without right evidences? He's not a proper job, is he? I won't have it.
Somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings has polarized opinion. Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victor,
It's not that far off. Right? Surely not. It's fine.
I can only applaud my learned friend's temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Asmund's body double.
Yes, the applause is deafening. And yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't explain why at the moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used, why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes. And I'm convinced it's something far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I have to find a way out of this. I guess it's because she, like, if she's in charge of the not necessarily, okay, the whole forensic team isn't in on it. It's just her, and she ordered them, like, oh yeah, don't do anything, don't move the body, don't let anyone get there. So it had to look like him. And then after she brought it in, she was like, oh yeah, autopsy, broken vertebrae, blah, blah, blah. So maybe Odie is still alive then. Maybe it's a three-way conspiracy. Maybe.
If you are ready, counsel, you may proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord. So I don't know if we'll get anything from him, but I'll try. The order of things seems to have changed around here for some reason.
I'm a copper, lad. It's a copper's discretion to bend the rules sometimes when needs must.
If you must needs bend the rules, then you must needs bend the rules.
What's wrong with that?
Where do I start?
I've been working with the yard for 40-odd years.
That's even more than I thought. We've only had a metropolitan police service in town for 70 years, you know. Of course, times have changed. The public didn't trust coppers back when I started. It was rough. We had to fight crime, and we had to fight to win the public's trust as well. And when we did, forensic science was in its infancy too, even more than it is now. And she spearheaded the revolution. Dr. Sith, you mean? That's right. About 10 years ago now it was, when I was still a youngish Bobby on the beat. That's when she started making a name for herself as a top-class coroner. And now look at her, head of the forensic investigation team, and a woman no less. Well, you won't hear me complain. It's all we dreamt of back then, I tell you. Could you tell me without holding that gun in the air? We were all out to uphold justice, lad. Full of vim we were. Full of vim. It's coming across loud and clear. But we're only just starting to understand this case. What are you reading there, sir? The man behind those murders on Solar Ponds Street was caught in 2 days flat. That's real policing for you. It's really not relevant to this case, is it? You're wrong there. Because it was Dr. Sith in charge of examining the bodies. And it was evidence arising from her work that led to the arrest of the scoundrel responsible. Oh. That's right. Oh, that woman is at the forefront of this country's fight against crime. The idea she's somehow involved in this murky business is a load of old tosh. Sir, language, please. There is a corn-eating child present. Thought it was up to me to press the jurors, not the other way around.
Hold it!
Why would you assume that? Well, quite simply because that unsettling swindler has no relationship with the woman, does he? True. As it stands, we don't know of any connection. Oh gosh. But it would be delightfully romantic if they were to somehow have a mutual interest in the waxwork. Romantic? A woman of society such as myself views everything in terms of relationships, you know. Well, learn something new every day, even if you don't want to. One might wonder about a possible relationship between the defendant and this coroner woman. Alright, where's fanfiction.net? Let's get caught up on all of the Sith X... what's his name? I already forgot his name. Or perhaps between the defendant and the handsome prosecutor just there. Oh, she has been on fanfiction.net. This woman may be more astute than I've been giving her credit for. If that's the woman's stance, then perhaps demonstrating some connection between the waxwork... yeah, between the waxwork and Dr. Sith would be enough. Okay. Yes, I agree. As soon as we have even a whiff of a connection, she'll be the first to know.
Hold it!
What sort of problems? And how many? 99 problems. Let's just say we have run into each other on numerous occasions when I've been performing on the street. Right, I see. Obviously, artists such as myself cannot appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences, so we perform our great magic in parks, on street corners, and the like. But the police use any excuse to make our lives difficult. Don't butt in. How rude. Sometimes they even cook up a story to extort monies from the poor. Well, that's definitely not right. Yes, and that is why I say if you trust the police, you will have trouble. But here you are, claiming this waxwork model was stolen to star in an illusionary spectacular. The idea is so wild, I think I will take my chances and believe the authorities on this occasion. This is how the public at large view Scotland Yard, is it? Our own police force in Tokyo is not even 20 years old yet, is it? Perhaps we should view what's happened here in London as a measure of what may happen at home. Yes, like a Scotland Yard stick. Scowl at him, please, Susato, for that. I wonder how a policeman would feel listening to the way this juror speaks about the force. I'm sure he'd have a word or two to say in response. And he did.
Hold it! Not in my day.
Not in my day.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Otter Mole? Who are you calling a mass murderer? Sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like him. Oh, wait, who is... Oh, wait, is this the guy who was sleeping in the wax museum? I don't look anything like the man. You want to be locked up, Sonny? Oh, thanks, Mr. Sholmes. Perhaps we could move on. I was wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly you do. Back in my day, back in the good old days, it wasn't like this. What was it like, sir? We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did. By Jove, we earned it. People respected us back then. They respected you? No one would have called a coroner into question in them days. A coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right. Especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it. Oh, that's right. That it says Courtney Stevens, not Courtney Sith. It was Courtney. She was the best of the best, and the apple of the Force's eye. Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens? It's okay. He loves to reload during a battle, so he's allowed to do that. How did I not? Because when the thing popped up on the autopsy, I'm like, oh, Courtney Stevens. Oh, where have I heard that before? We've heard that name before, maybe. And then later, when I was looking at Courtney Sith's thing, and it was like, oh, Coroner, of course. So that was her on the thing, but I had already forgotten that the last name wasn't Sith. Who is Courtney Stevens? Oh, sorry, got a bit carried away there.
Stevens is Dr. Sith's maiden name.
Her maiden name? Who would marry her? Oh, so that was before she was married.
Of course, yes, silly me. It's Sith now, isn't it?
So wait, is this a 10-year-old autopsy or something? Is this an autopsy for... Oh, no, that's right. I'm getting mixed up. Do we have 2 autopsies in the court record? This is Asmon's, where it's Courtney Sith, and she is the person... Okay. And she's also the person who did the autopsy on... wherever it is. Yes. I'm sure I've seen that name somewhere recently. Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing, not like now. Sorry to interrupt, sir. Do you think you could change your statement to include that name?
Well, yes. I don't see why not.
Courtney Stevens, back when I knew her, of course, the legendary coroner, even then. Press on this again. She was legendary, was she?
What did you say?
That woman is still the best coroner in the land. Head of the forensic investigation team. Legendary was your description, sir, not mine. Rubbish! That word never passed my lips. I'd never describe anyone that way, ever. Not if they were still in the game. I think the point you're trying to make is that Dr. Sith is an extremely talented coroner. Would that be fair? I wonder if that was another translation thing, where if the word that he used in Japanese was something he would only use to describe someone who, like, was the pioneer of something, and then I don't know, it died. It would. If it weren't for the fact that you're trying to drag that legendary woman's reputation through the mud. And then he said it again. Gotta pretend I didn't hear that legendary. Because I feel like that's not true in English. You can say legendary of someone who is alive.
Hold it!
But you claimed the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick.
That I did.
But there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat, isn't there? Sorry? I grant you, given that this cage appeared from amidst an explosion, there'd have been no need to use a real person. But if a waxwork had been used, the culprit could at least have had the decency to make it look like the victim. I'm not sure exactly how much criminals are governed by decency. The point is, if you're going to make a claim about that waxwork being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. Without that, it's just not science. I suppose we should expect nothing less than a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society, but that perhaps means his mind could be changed if we manage to present suitable evidence. Evidence that the Professor Waxwork was inside that birdcage. Can I produce that or not? I guess this is where the Crystal Tower glass comes into play. Oh, I must warn you that I firmly believe it's only wise to trust men in white coats. Given your jet black, your Hangyuk no. Wait. Shikoku. I'm like, it has something to do with Shadowbringers. Given your Shikoku outfit, I don't mind admitting to a sense of trepidation here. So you don't trust anyone in black. Looking in the mirror must be very trying. Mithering. Mithering must be very trying for you, sir.
Take that!
What is that? A piece of glass? Though it's unusually thick for glass.
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass, though. It's very thick, and clearly made for extra strength, much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
The crystal Holy smoke!
Exactly. The centerpiece of the great exhibition where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass.
From whence this small piece originated, is that it?
Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you.
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say the color shouldn't come into it. In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will Hadouken my face.
No, not yet. Not time for Hadoukens yet.
Hold it!
I've got to ask, why have you brought that corn into court with you? Colonel Cobb, he's been growing back on the farm. Picked him off on my way into town. He's a proper nibbler, he is. Proper nibbler. Yes, the nibbling seems to be taking quite a while. Maybe it could wait until after the trial. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. You need colonels at times like this. When I've something big to decide, the colonels always point me in the right direction, see? You're talking about your cob of corn? Nibble, nobble, guilty bobble. Nibble, not guilty out. Nibble, nobble, guilty babble. Nibble, not guilty out. Okay. 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 Perhaps it's akin to fortune-telling with flower petals like people do back home. So Professor Harebrain's fate is to be decided by a cob of corn. Could you not at least wait until we've had more time to find out the truth before deciding on the defendant's guilt? Oh, I don't know about that. My tum's awfully full already. Amazing. Alright, so nothing there. I know it will seem a little far-fetched to think the waxwork model of the professor was in that birdcage, but on the other hand, it explains a lot. If there really is a reason why that particular waxwork had to be used as Mr. Asmund's double, we must do everything we can to make the jurors understand it. The truth is, I'm sure that's the key to it too, but it's the most puzzling part of it too. In that case, you should see what additional information you can glean, whilst trying to change the jurors' minds. Obviously, if you can read a book whilst eating a rice cracker, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm sure you can do this. Right. Yes. Oh no, I accidentally ate the book while reading the rice cracker. So, can I press on this again and see what happens? Thank you for reconsidering your position, sir.
Your words are misplaced, boy. My opinion is governed by logic, science, nothing else. Science is where you should direct your words of gratitude.
Thanks, science. Science.
What's the matter with you? Too good to say some words of thanks to the mother of all academic subjects?
What is it about scientists? Honestly.
So can we use
His statement says, okay, the waxwork was inside the birdcage. Oh, whoops. I could try saying this disagrees with the fact that the waxwork was in the Crystal Tower because she's... Oh, no, wait. Oh, okay. Maybe it's... So now there is evidence, right?
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious, to whose statements do you refer, counsel? If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Oh, you may. You've pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence, but the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. This is odd. It's just the the counter to your claim is that one of the other jurors has changed their mind. Therefore, oh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Of course you don't. If I could interject here, please do, sir. Now that this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me, as a man of science, not to pursue the matter further. Now he Hadoukens? The delayed Hadouken. Okay. He was charging. He was holding the punch button down to make the fireball bigger. Well, me too then. Sorry? If this brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. See? I wouldn't dream against going against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears. Okay. Alright. That's fine. Success, if you can call it that. That's a whole of a corn, isn't it? So I can't press on either of those anymore. Do I pit him again? Okay, we had her change. He changed his testimony to say, Courtney Stevens, legendary coroner, even back then. I pressed him on it, and he complained about the word legendary, but it's not. I thought was going to be there.
Hold it!
Press on this again.
Hold it!
A whiff of a connection. I don't know where we're gonna get that, though.
Hold it!
Oh, and he didn't interrupt this time because we've already done that. Judging me silently. Oh no. They've already had their argument, so it seems weird that I would pit them against each other, but there's only 4 people, and...
Objection!
Nope, music didn't stop. Well, Mr. Foreman, there's to be a new Sherlock Holmes adventure published next month by the looks. My lord, the foreman of the jury isn't listening. Is that so? Well, I shall have to reserve myself a copy at the local newsagent in that case. Mr. Saddle, no one's listening to what I'm saying. Perhaps this would be a good opportunity to have a rethink, then.
Fear not, my learned friend. I heard every sorry word.
Oh, now the judge is listening. But, my lord, wait! I'm still in the process. Nope. But are they those two going to change their votes back?
Guilty!
Guilty.
Of course.
Guilty!
Why not?
Kill me!
Clang.
I applaud the jurors for doing their civic duty and finding a swift resolution to this matter. That is all. Court is adjourned.
Maybe I should have saved so that I don't have to.
Hold it!
It should. Yes, it does let me skip.
Hold it! Not in my day! Excuse me! Hold it! Hold it!
So I guess it's going to be that the fact that he's saying, oh, she was a legendary prosecutor back in the day, is in conflict with the idea that she did an autopsy on the professor and he stole a waxwork of the professor, so that makes them related.
Hold it!
Oh, I didn't need to press on this, I just need to pit them. Oh god, Turbo Corn.
Objection!
You too, Fireball! Do it! Sonic Boom! Sonic Boom of not guilty.
Objection!
It's strange.
To whose statements do you refer?
So, juror number 2. Oh gosh, me? What can I do for you? I presume that you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It's brought to light the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Sith, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before. Well, naturally, as a woman of society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible. But oh golly, I'm afraid I failed to see what you mean. Dr. Sith's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it. My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling.
Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last remark. I very much hope there is substance to your claim.
Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. Okay.
Take that!
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago.
A 10-year-old autopsy report? What relevance does that have?
It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork, the killer known as the Professor.
The Professor's? But the man was a capital offender, so...
That's right. This is the certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens. Oh my, Courtney Stevens.
Strike a light, okay.
It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Sith 10 years ago, and a few days ago Mr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame Two Spells. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Asmat, at all. I don't know why we're still saying that. And do you suppose there's some unsavory relationship between those events? Absolutely, I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Professor case is at the heart of a link we have yet to uncover between Dr. Courtney Sith and Mr. Enoch Drebber. Hidden links, mysterious connections, secret relationships. This is all most extraordinary. We're surely obliged now to explore this further. Is the policeman gonna change his vote too? Why? Why? What? Oh, okay, to get rid of the cloud of suspicion. Very well. Not while there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. It wasn't like this in my day, but we're still here to uphold justice in the end. We're still here to upload justice to the internet. Thank you, counsel. That will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now call guilty against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time, and the trial must continue. We did it. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Another wonderful victory. Alrighty. Alright, so that puts us at a good spot to save and end, to be resumed on Monday. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you had a good time. Tune in for some more of this on Monday. Yeah, nothing much else to say. Have a great night and a great weekend.